Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this video, we are going to be going over Chapter 6 homework, which is inventory cost flow assumptions. This example goes over the perpetual inventory calculations and journal entries and um, cost of goods sold determination under the FIFO inventory method with the perpetual inventory system. And as you can see here, we're given a beginning inventory balance and a list of purchases and sales made throughout the period of 3 months. And we are going to record the inventory purchases and the cost of goods sold data. And we're going to determine the costs to assign to cost of goods sold and the cost to assign to our ending inventory. We're going to do the journal entries for sales and for cost of goods sold. And we're going to determine our gross profit, our ending inventory, and whether using the LIFO method would have produced a higher or lower ending inventory balance. And with that, let's get started. So we are going to be using these transactions here, and we'll just minimize this a little bit so we can scroll easier. Our beginning inventory balance is 9,000 units of inventory at $60 per unit. And that's pretty simple to enter. We just put our quantity at 9,000 units, $60 a unit, and that's $540,000. Then we have a purchase of 21,000 units, $70 a unit, and that's a total of $1,470,000. And then in this section over here, right, if we look at our instructions, we're recording the inventory purchases, recording the cost of goods sold, and we have a perpetual inventory record similar to what's exhibited in exhibit number 3, which is from the slides. We're going to be inputting our purchases in the first column, cost of goods sold in the second column, and then our inventory balance and all of the inventory buckets in the third column. And as we're inputting our inventory buckets, we're going to record our top inventory bucket, which is our beginning inventory, on top. And we know this because we look at the inventory balance here and it displays the quantity information, and the initial inventory is recorded first on this list because it was purchased first. And the cost there is $540,000. And then we're also going to include the inventory that was purchased next, which was the 21,000 units, $60 per unit, or at $70 per unit, excuse me. For $70 a unit and 1,740,000 in cost. Now we have a couple of sales transactions to record. And as you can see, the dates here, they've already entered the dates. And so we know that we're going to have 2 transactions on the 28th. And the sale is 10,250 units. And the sales price was $140 per unit. And so the total sale was $1,435,000. This 10,250 units under the FIFO first in, first out inventory system, we have to take as much inventory as we can from the first units, which in this case are the beginning inventory units of 9,000. And since 9,000 is less than 10,250, we're selling all of them. At $60 per unit is going to be our unit cost because this is our cost section, not our sales section. And we're going to, uh, that's going to be the total $540,000. We have another 1,250 units, and that's going to come from the $70 inventory purchased on the 10th. And that total comes to 87,500. And our ending inventory on the 28th comes out to is only the $70 inventory that's left. And we have 19,750 units remaining for a total of 1,382,500, which is 19,750 times 70. Now on the 30th, we have another sale, and that's 5,750. And we're selling $70 inventory because that's all we have left. And it is 402,500. Our remaining inventory after this sale is 14,000 units of $70 inventory. And the total cost, the total value of the total cost of the inventory remaining, which is also the value that we assign a historical cost, comes out to $980,000. And we'll just do a quick check of our work as we go here. As of February 5th, we have a sale of 3,500 units. And that's all going to come from the $70 inventory. And we're going to have 10,500 units remaining, also the $70 inventory. 3,500 times 70 is $245,000. And 10,500 times 70 is 735,000. And that's our ending inventory balance. Now on the 10th, we have a purchase of an additional 39,500 units at a cost of $75 for 2,962,500. And our inventory balance is going to be, we're going to add that layer of inventory to our inventory listing here. And then we have some sales transactions to record. On the 16th, we sell 15,000 units of inventory at $150. And we don't have, so that 15,000 units, we first have to use up the inventory that was purchased first, which is the $70 inventory. And so we're going to use up 10,500, which is the total remaining balance of the $70 inventory. And our cost is 735,000 for that. Now we need to use up 4,500 units of the $75 inventory. And that comes out to 337,500. And our remaining inventory on hand is 35,000 units. And it's all $75 inventory that's left because that's what was purchased most recently. FIFO, the cost of goods sold is going to be what was purchased first. And then the ending inventory is what was purchased last under this inventory method. It's first in, first out. You can picture it like a retail grocery store, and they're always purchasing new produce, and then they sell the old produce before they start selling the new produce because perishable inventory naturally goes bad over time, and so then, you can picture in your mind the flow of goods. And 35,000 units at $75 per unit is 2,625,000. And then on the 28th, we sell 10,000 units. And this is all we have left is the $75 inventory. And so it's going to be $750,000. And then we have 25,000 units left. And the ending inventory is going to be worth 1,875,000. Added an extra zero there. Now on March 5th, we purchased another 25,000 units at $82 a unit for $2,050,000. And remember, we're going to have to, now we have to update our inventory listing. And we record the inventory purchase first. And then we record the recently purchased $82 inventory. And we have some sales transactions to record now. So on the 30th, we sell 30,000 units, and we have only 25,000 of the inventory purchased first. So we're going to record selling all 25,000 of the $75 inventory. And then we're going to sell 5,000 units of the $82 inventory. And that comes out to $410,000. And what we have remaining is 20,000 units of $82 inventory. And that comes out to 1,640,000 units, or $640,000. That's a historical cost that we assign. Now we purchase another 10,000 units for $88.40 per unit, and that's $884,000. And now we have two layers of inventory again. And we just record them both. Both our $20,000 layer and our 20,000 unit layer at $82, and then our $88.40 layer, that's 10,000 units because we just purchased that. And then one final sale of 19,000 units. And that's only going to use up the $82 inventory because we have 20,000 units left of that. And that's going to come to $1,558,000. And then our ending inventory, we still have 1,000 units left of the $82 inventory. And then we have 10,000 units of the $88.40 inventory. And now we can add up, even though we didn't do the journal entries yet, we can add up the total cost of all of our items here in the cost section of cost of goods sold. And that'll come out to our total cost of goods sold throughout the period. And then our ending inventory balance is going to be the sum of our two layers that we have remaining here on March 30th. Or technically, this is on the 31st of March. So on the 31st of March, we have 966,000 in ending inventory. And if we add up all of our cost of goods sold, we have $6,940,500, $9,640,500 in cost of goods sold throughout the period. And that's all for this page here. But we're going to take this cost of goods sold amount, and this is going to be important for our journal entry. So our journal entry is to determine the total sales and total cost of goods sold for the period, journalize summary entries for the sales and corresponding cost of goods sold for the period. Assume that all sales were on account, date the journal entry March 31st. It's really important to read the instructions here. March 3rd, it says date your journal entry March 31st. So we're going to date both journal entries because we're going to need two journal entries as of March 31st. And our first journal entry is going to be our sales entry. So that's going to be a debit to accounts receivable and a credit to sales. And then we're going to debit cost of goods sold and credit inventory for our second journal entry. And from our worksheet here, we have our cost of goods sold. That's 6,940,500. And that's so we debit our cost of goods sold and we credit our inventory for that amount. Now, for our sales, total sales throughout the period, we are given the amounts in the total section for each of the sales. So we need to add up 1,435,000, 805,000, 490,000, 2,250,000, 1,500,000, 4,500,000, and 2,850,000. And that comes out to $13,830,000. And that's our total sales for the period. Now for our final question, what is the gross profit from sales for the period? Well, gross profit is sales minus cost of goods sold. So $13,830,000 minus 6,940,500 brings our gross profit for the period to 6,889,500. And the ending inventory cost comes straight from our worksheet, which is $966,000. And based on the preceding data, would you expect the ending inventory using the LIFO method to be higher or lower? So if you remember the last in, first out, or LIFO inventory method, the inventory purchased most recently is what's considered sold and what gets expensed under cost of goods sold. That means the inventory purchased first is what's used to value ending inventory. And in our instructions, we're in a period of rising costs here. And if this inventory, which costs less, is what's used to value our ending inventory, particularly our 884,000, we had in our ending inventory, we had about 11,000 units left. If the 11,000 units came from some of these initial purchases that were made, it would be valued less on the balance sheet because the cost was less for the original units compared to under the FIFO method, the most recent purchases of inventory are what's included. And so the value of ending inventory would be lower under the LIFO method and cost of goods sold would be higher. That's all, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this video, and I wish you the best of luck on your homework.